do a sound check. That sounds good enough. All right. Sweet guys, welcome back. So, hey, what do we got? Let's just get rid of this. Sorry, I'm just getting some feedback in my own mic. Okay, so as I was talking to you guys before, I do apologize. I know a few people kind of came on Thursday night hoping for a tutorial, and I actually was completely shattered on Thursday. So I do apologize. I was meant to do one on Thursday, but I will try and do, let's see, Tuesday for sure. I'll actually make a booking Tuesday, Thursday, and then try and do a couple before the actual MCAT itself. All right, guys. So as I said to you before, I'm going to be working on exponentials today. So I've only got these 3 questions at the moment to kind of kick off with, and I realized that some of you guys were actually asking for questions on inequalities and some quadratics. So I would strongly recommend that you guys go and check out the past tutorials. And I am trying to look for questions that you haven't seen before that are a little bit more challenging. So these are the 3 questions that we're going to start with today. And then after that, if you guys got any more questions, as always, just flick it up in the Facebook page. I'll just keep an eye on it as well, just in case anything pops up. I know a few people have sent some questions. I am getting to them eventually, just doing those MCAT prep videos, because it's just some of the questions you guys are sending are really cool, and it just takes a bit more time to kind of explain it properly. One more thing, guys, in the description, you guys will see a notebook link. That notebook link has actually got all my, basically all the questions. So if you open it up, I think if you go into, you probably see it on the screen shortly, right here, you have these things called tutorials level 1. So you can click on it and you can actually go through all of my old tutorials. It's all there. And then if any of the viewer questions that people ask, it all pops up there as well. Okay, so this notes is always available to you guys. The link for this notebook is actually in the description. Okay, let's get started with the first question. I hope some of you guys have actually had a go at some of these questions, just to see whether they work out or not. So okay, let's get started. So the first question, what we have is just an exponential kind of question, but I'm going to show you guys some classic mistakes people do. I've actually seen people do this, where they rewrite this question as 5 to the power of 3x equals, and then what they do is they actually take these 2 numbers here and multiply it, and they type it as write it as 125 to the power of 7x. So I've seen people do it so many times, even though we talk about it so many times, but please don't actually do that. So what you got to do is rewrite 25 as 5 to the power of something. And it's, the numbers that you work with are fairly straightforward. So in this case, 5 squared is 25. So I'm going to rewrite this question as 5 to the power of 3x equals 5 to the power of 2 multiplied by 5 to the power of 7x. So what I've got is, I've got 2 bases here that are the same, which means I've got to add up my powers. When I add the powers, I'm going to get 5 to the power of 3x equals 5 to the power of 7x plus 2. So once I do that, now I've got the 2 bases are the same. So I can almost kind of say, yep, they disappear. And I just say the power 3x is equal to 7x plus 2. So I've got 3x equals 7x plus 2. Rearrange it. So I've got 3x minus 7x equals to 2. and then 3x minus 7x is negative 4x equals to 2, and then x is equal to 2 over negative 4, which of course simplifies to negative 1 over 2. As for the type of grade for this question, I know sometimes you can get this as a merit, but knowing these guys, I don't think they'll give you guys such an easy question for merit. They'll probably mess around with you a bit more. Okay, so let's have a look at number 2. What I'm going to do is for number 2, I'm going to give you guys maybe a couple of minute or two to just to kind of have a go at it. If you do have any other questions on the side, just drop it in the chat section and happy to kind of answer it. Hey Akari, you've kind of mentioned that you scrapped through your mock. Did you have any kind of weird questions that you remember that you could share here? All right. While I wait for Akari, I'm going to actually go through question number 2. So, question number 2, as I said to you, the first mistake some of the people do is they see that 6 and 3. I don't have my grade. Crystal, you just got to keep practicing. Trust me on this when I say this. Like level 1 is just annoying, but once you get to level 2, it's actually not that bad. I say this in every tutorial to people. Like level 1, they just ask really silly questions, but level 2 is actually a lot more straightforward. No worries, Akari. I was just wondering if you had any particular questions you can kind of ask from that. Okay, let's go to question 2. So as I said, the first mistake people do is they see the 6 and 3, multiply it, and then they write it as 18 to the power of x plus 1. And you're thinking, and someone else that they actually end up doing something like this, and then they actually do something like 18 over 9 and silly things like that. So yeah, just be careful with that. All right, Jeremy, no, these are not achieved questions. These questions will be merit or excellence questions. And the reason I like doing these merit or excellence questions is because they actually cover quite a bit of your achieved skills that you need. So it's just kind of a good way to learn some of these questions. Yeah. Okay, so going back to question 2. What we've got is 6 times 3 to the power of x plus 1 and 9x. And I guess the clue is right here, the 9. Okay, so what you got to do is you got 6 multiplied by 3 to the power of x plus 1. Now we know that 9 is equal to 3 squared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace just the 9 with 3 squared. So let me just show you that again. So all I've done is I've just replaced 9 here with 3 squared. Okay, but I'm still going to have that x there because that's what it is. So then what we have is 6 times 3 to the power of x plus 1 is less than, now 3 to the power of squared, well 3 squared to the power of x is just can be written as 3 to the power of 2 times x. So we're going to have 6 times 3 to the power of x plus 1 is less than 3 to the power of 2x. Mr. Salty, did you see my mistake? I did. Okay, so the next step is this. Bring the 3 to the power of x plus 1 to the other side. So this is going to look like 3 to the power of 2x divided by 3 to the power of x plus 1. Now, there's a particular reason I actually wanted to do this question, because a lot of people might not actually see that link there. Okay, so once you get that, the next step you got to do is, because the bases are the same and you're dividing you got to actually subtract the powers, right? So it's going to end up looking like this, and you got to be very careful with this, because you got to write that as 2x minus, but make sure you put x plus 1 in a bracket. Because understand that this minus sign is going to affect the x, but it's also going to affect the positive 1 as well. Okay, so it's really important that you guys put that bracket, otherwise you can end up getting like a silly mistake. So what happens now is we've got 6 is less than 3 to the power of 2x. We've got negative times x, which is negative x. Negative times 1 is minus 1. So simplifying this, we've got 3 to the power of x minus 1, which has to be greater than 6. So, and I think this question number 2 here that I'm doing at the moment, I would probably put that as, an excellence question for sure. And I think in terms of getting, if you're wondering like, what do I need to do for an achieved or a merit example, I think if you convert this, get up to this line here, you're probably looking at an achieved. And as for a merit, I would probably say, maybe here. I could be wrong, but yeah. How do you get 3? Wait. I'm just having a look. Sorry, guys. I know. Got a couple of questions popping up there. Just hang on. How do you get 3 to the power of 2x minus x plus 1? Okay. So going back to here, remember this. If you have a to the power of m divided by a to the power of n, this could be written as a to the power of m minus n. So that's how I kind of did that. So if you think about it, so it's like the m part is like the 2x, which is there, and then you got to subtract whatever power is in the denominator. So that's how that there is. So hopefully that, Hannah, hopefully that actually helped you understand that. No worries, Ruby. Okay, so we haven't finished this question, by the way. Let's actually go and finish this question. So what we're looking for is a value for x so that it's bigger than 6 at any point, all right? So, and I guess sometimes you are actually allowed to actually guess and check at this point, because this type of question, especially with when the number here, I'm talking about this number here, is not like a nice number, you are allowed to guess and check at this point. But when you're going to go guess and check, what I would say is like put what, like create like a little table, and then you should be fine. Lewis, trust me on this, mate. Just keep watching these videos, keep practicing, you'll be fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to put x is equal to 0. Actually, let's actually put x equals to 1, all right? Just because we know we can. If you put x equals to 1, then we're going to get 3 to the power of 1 minus 1, which equals to 3 to the power of 0, which is actually equal to 1. Now, is 1 bigger than 6? We know it's not bigger than 6, so x can't actually equal 1. Then we're going to go x equals to 2, which means we're going to get 3 to the power of 2 minus 1, which is 3 to the power of 1, which is 3. And is 3 bigger than 6? Nope, so that can't be true as well. Then we're going to go x is equal to 3. So we're going to get 3 to the power of 3 minus 1, which is 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, and is 9 bigger than 6? We can say yes. All right, and basically what we're saying is that after that, it just keeps going, because if we go x to the power of 4, then this is going to be 3 to the power of 4 minus 1, which is 3 to the power of 3, which is 27. Is 27 bigger than 6? It's yes. So basically what we're saying is that if x is equal to 3 or bigger than 3, then this little thing is going to actually work out. So what we can do is at this point we can just say 6 less than 3 to the power of x minus 1, Therefore, x greater than or equal to 3. So it's really important that you actually put that 2 or more. 2 is not going to work for x, because if you put 2 in there, I just showed you why it won't actually work. Yes, this video is actually live. How many more questions have I got? Anyone else finding word problems difficult? Super. Okay, there's only one available for this. Okay, sorry, you were talking about the actual excellence questions. For excellence questions, every year they change the marking schedule, guys, so it's really kind of hard to predict what you need for an excellence. Callum, I think the one thing is that we're gonna actually go. One assumption that we actually have to make here is that x is actually is an integer. All right, so that means we're not actually looking for decimal point questions, because at MCAT you're not allowed a calculator, so you've got to be dealing with whole numbers. Okay, so is there any questions on question number 2 before I go to question 3? The teacher cried. Crystal, it's just one of these what do you call it, exponential algebra questions. There's just going to be a lot of steps all the time. Well, Ruby, I think so far I basically predicted one question in the last 3 years. So I would actually say I think, guys, what you got to realize is that the more variety of questions you guys actually see, the more you actually kind of get used to it. So that's one of the reasons why what I end up doing is that I go back and I find like other questions from elsewhere that I think could be in it, but I'm never really sure. It's just I just want to make sure that you guys actually have like a variety of questions you've actually seen. Hydrochloric, most of the time I think it's like if you get like 3 or 4 achieved questions correct, I think you actually end up getting it achieved, which I'm sure from the last few years that's what it was. Okay, so in saying that, I'm going to go to question 3 because I don't see any questions kind of popping up for question 2. So question 3, what I've done is, again, as, what was it? Ruby asked. Found a question. I've actually created this question, guys, because just to see how you guys actually go about solving this question. Now, as I said to you, this question actually covers exponentials. It actually covers quadratic as well. It's one thing that I found recently is that they love combining questions, which is annoying, but when I say combining questions, combining like topics, so they'll have like a exponential with quadratic or linear with exponential and so on. So anyway, I'll give you guys a couple of minutes just to try this question by yourself, just to see how far you go. But I will tell you this right now, we're going to end up with a quadratic equation, and we're going to have to do like that graph that I talked to you guys about. I think it was last week I was talking to you guys about. Yes, Ruby, I am a teacher. And I give you guys a couple of hints, all right? So these are the hints that you're going to need to do for this particular question. See, even if you're thinking, oh man, I got no idea how to start this, right? Just remember, these are the things you need to remember. If you have a to the power of m divided by a to the power of n, this is a to the power of m minus n. Why is it that every time someone that comes and goes, is this actually live? Is this actually live? What do I need to do to make this live? Do I need to put like a little clock in here or something? All right, anyway, I'm hoping that that little statement in red gave you guys a bit of a clue. But basically what we have is we're going to rewrite this as 3 to the power of x squared minus 2x less than or equal to 3 to the power of 8. Could you just simply multiply? Yeah, you could do it that way as well. Legendary, so I'll actually show you the other way you could do this. This is what Legendary asked me whether we could do. 3x squared less than or equal to 3 to the power of 8 multiplied by 3 to the power of 2x. So what you're going to see, Legendary, is that it's going to end up with the same kind of equation, because look what happens on the left hand side. Basically, because the bases are the same, I can get rid of the 2 3's, and what I've got is x squared minus 2x is less than or equal to 8, and I've got to rearrange this as a quadratic. So this is going to be x squared minus 2x minus 8 is less than or equal to 0. Do you then have to flip signs? Jonathan, no, you don't have to flip any signs in this, because remember, you only flip signs if you divide by a negative number. Okay, so Legendary, going back to your method, what you'll notice is it's just got one extra step in it. Well, not one extra step. It's going to end up looking like this. 3x squared is less than or equal to. Now, because these two bases are the same, we can combine it. So this is going to end up looking like this, 8 plus 2x. And again, both of the 3's are the bases. So we've got x squared is less than or equal to 8 plus 2x. Rearranging it, we're going to get x squared minus 2x minus 8. And that's less than or equal to 0. And as you can see, both of them are the same. Why is it minus 2x, Sarah? Because of this thing right here. When you divide, when you've got the two powers and the bases are the same, the powers get subtracted by each other. So Legendary, yeah, you can actually do that way as well, mate. So as you can see, you end up getting the same thing. So what we've got here is x squared minus 2x minus 8 is less than or equal to 0. Now, I would say getting to here is probably an achieved. So minus 2x would be a plus. Sarah, are you talking about minus 2x in the denominator? No, Ruby. Either, as long as you get to the quadratic, you just got to go. You guys got to show some sort of working to actually get to this stage, because otherwise, some people, like the way the marking schedule would work is like they think that you're guessing and checking, and so you're only allowed like one guess and check in the paper, so you can't just guess and check like every question. So that, I think, you know, for those guys that are like, you know, who are a bit skeptical about getting an achieved in MCAT, just remember that you are allowed to guess and check, and so there are some word questions where you might not be able to actually come up with the equations and solve it, but if you can guess and check, that might actually count as an achieved grade. So always, never, I mean, my advice is that never leave an exam paper empty. You always write something, and even if you don't know how to answer the question, if you can guess and check and write that answer, it's still, you might get lucky with it. Night Shadow, yes, I will be doing a calculus one and an algebra one sometime this week, because some of my students have been bugging for it. So yes, I will be doing that. Anyway, back to this question. What we have is a quadratic and it equals to 0. All right. So we can actually rewrite this as just x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals to 0. And we're going to factorize it. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to minus 8 and add up to minus 2. So in this case, it's going to be negative 4 and plus 2. So at this point, now you might be wondering why I went from less than equal to sign and then change it to like equals to 0. The reason I did this is because I kind of need to find where my two roots are. And the only way to do that is by putting equals to 0. So I find my two values. So I've got x minus 4 equals to 0 or x plus 2 equals to 0. So in this case, x is equal to positive 4. In this case, x is equal to minus 2. Path, we're not finished yet. I hope you got the right zones right, because otherwise you're only getting a merit for this question. So up to here will be a merit questions. Oh, I did, Josh? Which school was that? So we're not finished with this question yet, because remember, this is an excellence question and we are trying to find when is this quadratic actually less than 0. So if you think about it, this is a positive quadratic. All right, if it's a positive quadratic, it's going to look like this. And then our two roots, we've actually found out what they are. So one is there, which is positive 4. Sorry, not positive 4. That's going to be minus 2. And then that's actually positive 4. What's happening to my mouse? Yeah, nice work, Sarah. I think that's what we're looking for. So we're actually looking for less than 0, because that's what this symbol here is saying. That means we actually need less than 0 is this entire part here. But also remember that it's less than or equal to. So that means your zone that you're going to be looking at is between minus 2 and 4, less than, and we're going to put that x, but also we've got to make sure you put that equals to. So that is what's going to get this question's grade to be an excellence. No guys, this live stream will not be deleted. It will be, I will upload it after I finish. It just takes like a bit of time to actually upload it. Not quite intermediate. Oh yeah, I did too. It was last week. Could there be a question where there is no answer? Do this, Zubair? No. Like, I actually went through this kind of question before, and I'm gonna go through it again with you guys. Like, so let me just show you what I mean by. Say, for example, you end up with. Let me just get rid of my mouse. It's just bloody annoying me. Where is it? There we go. Let's try that again. So going back to whose question was it? Zubair. Say, for example, actually you guys can try this. What if this, say for example, if this quadratic looked like this, x squared minus 2x minus 8 is greater than or equal to 0. So what we do at this point is we still kind of go through the same procedures as we did here. All right, we do all of that and we end up with x is equal to 4, x equals to minus 2. And what happens is you still got to go as a quadratic because this is a positive quadratic. So it's going to look like this. And you've got this line here, which is where y is the 0 line is. And you've got your 2 points, which is minus 2 and positive 4. But this particular quadratic, is actually greater than 0, that means it's going to be this part here, and it's going to be this part here. So the final answer is going to end up looking like this. X is less than or equal to -2, or 4 less than or equal to X. Isn't the 4 AC thing level 2? All right. Zubair, hopefully that helped you with the two versions of this question. So yeah, so it just really depends on whether it's greater than 0 or less than 0. So you actually got to try to work through it. Jonathan, you don't actually need to know the quadratic formula because we do it in level 2. But if they do ask you questions based on the quadratic formula, they will actually give you the formula. It's not like they're going to ask you, make you remember it or anything like that. And if they don't give you that formula, man, well, just a mess up then, isn't it? Yeah, because we actually cover level 2 quadratic formula in level 2. So that hopefully that helps you with that question, Jonathan. Sarah, isn't 4 AC thing level 2? Yes, it is. That's the discriminant. Told our class about teaching in Mandarin High. Oh, yes, I did teach there for a while. Thank you. I was asking because there was literally no answer to the question. Yes, Chinmay, would you mind sending that question to me, and then I can have a look at it? Awesome. I also have got another question that's just popped up on my Facebook Messenger, so I'm just going to actually kind of do that shortly, guys. But I'll just answer all these questions first. I was asking if I already got yes, Chinmay, as I said to you, just send that screenshot of that question, and then I'll have a look at it. Electric ones weren't equal to anything. Makeda Fenwick, yeah, I've seen that happen once, and I think in the MCAT prep videos, let me just see. If you want to have a look at it, it's yeah, so it's basically if you go to my I know it's kind of like messy at the moment, but there's one called RC. I think if you find that, it's a question where it doesn't actually have any solution, so make sure you have a look at it later on. There is a video for it as well. You'll find it, and it is one of those questions where it actually doesn't have any solutions. How many screenshots am I going to take? I don't know, man. How much time should we spend on each MCAT question, because I always run out of time? Yes, Hare, going back to your question about how to time manage, one of the things that I actually tell people to do, and guys, if you are listening, you know, you've kind of just been like cruising through this next 1 minute, just make sure you listen. And what I strongly recommend you guys do when it comes to your exams is the first thing, which people don't actually do, is they don't actually read the questions at all, right? Like, I know you only get 1 hour, but spend about I'd say about at least 2 to 3 minutes just reading the paper from start to end before even attempting any question. Just every question word for word, you make sure you read it. All right, then what you do is you go back and you actually just take a pen and just mark all the questions that you think you can do, which you're really confident in, and you're like, it's kind of like you've done it so many times, you just look at it and go, yep, I know what I'm doing. So you kind of like just mark those questions first, okay? Because what happens is that the way you know, your brain works is that, like, once you look at a question, your brain starts processing things, you know, it takes a bit of time, but it still does process it. But in the meanwhile, what you do is you go back and finish all the questions that you actually know. Then you can actually go and attempt the questions that you don't know, because you've got some kind of like, you don't actually have that much pressure when it comes to answering those questions, because you already answered questions that you feel quite confident about. All right, and just keep going back and read the question, keep going back, and don't leave any questions empty. That's what I would say here. Where y cuts x coordinate using the formula of y, Sarah. Where y cuts x coordinate, I'm trying to think. Are you talking about a quadratic equation there, Sarah? Because that's, I'm trying to, wow, there's a lot of stuff that's come through. Okay, give me a second. Let's see. Zubair, yep, you got it. Post this video later. If my answer was in the, I'm looking at Sarah, if my answer was in the form x less than and x greater than or equal to 4, or might use or. Sarah, I think you've got to use or. And I know in my previous video that I actually said it was and, but I double checked it. It's actually or, because there's actually two zones that it could actually happen. No worries, Zayden. Chinmay, you're sending it. Can you please show the question again because I came late? AUSU Pro. If you go to my description, you will find the notebook, so you can actually go and access this notes. It's live, so every time I'm writing on it, it gets updated on your in that note, which is shared online. I'll send it through Insta. Okay. Wait, are you able to link your Facebook when you're free? If you look at the description, there is a page where you can actually, the link for the Facebook page is down there in the description. Okay, do you think it'll be better to start with excellence questions? No. Kevaun, I would strongly recommend you don't start with excellence questions first. The reason is because they mix the questions up, so you never know which one is the excellence questions. All right, so I would actually say that answer all the questions that you feel confident, like where you don't have to think, where you just look at the question and go, yep, I know exactly what I'm doing. So say, for example, there's a quadratic equal to 0, and you're like, yep, I know how to do this. So just do that real quickly. Don't waste your, like, even though it might take like a minute, just do it quickly, because you don't know which question is excellence. And sometimes you can spend like so much time on it, and if you don't get anything right, the maximum grade you get is like an achieved or a merit. And so you don't want to kind of like jeopardize that one whole question because of your poor time management skills. Level 2, the big enough template, I forgot everything. Yeah. Oh man, there's a lot coming through. Can you put the next working up? Sorry, Jamie, I do apologize, man. Let me put that next question up. So this was question number 4. That was just sent to me now. Let me just get that. We had 8 times 2x minus 5 is greater than 66. There we go. You guys work through that question, and I'll just answer. Sorry, Jamie. And I'll have a look at the next questions. What would you say is the best way to approach a question like? Ooh, that's a hard question there, Jasmine. It really depends on the type of question you're dealing with, whether you factorize or expand. Your Gmail won't send through because I don't have Facebook. Yeah, just let me just see. Zayden, try that email. Yeah, as I was saying earlier, Lewis, you don't know which questions are excellence and which questions are achieved. So I would actually, my recommendation is like, if you know questions that are really easy and you're not going to waste like 5 minutes on a question, and you can just look at it and go, yep, I know what I'm doing, then you just go ahead and just do that straight away. Oh, Sarah, that question that you just put up, all you got to do is just factorize. So the two answers you get for that question is like x equals to 0 and x equals to minus 3. Because all you got to do is just put y equals to 0 and just sort it out. So story and K, move focus. Yeah, I'll go through that towards the end part with the inequality stuff. Yesh, which 2018 paper are you talking about, man? Whoa, sorry. It's 2x minus 5. Sorry, I wrote that wrong. Give me 1 second. Let me just go back to the question and have a look. No, it is. I missed a 2 there. Damn it. Sorry. This is what happens when I'm trying to do multiple things at a time. Sorry guys. Yes, just have a look at my playlist, man. There's all the MCAT papers are actually there. Okay, while people are actually working on that, I know some people were having some difficulties with some the words like at least 4 or I'll show you guys real quickly here. Less than, greater than 4, and at most 4. So when it's actually saying at least 4, so say for example it looks like this, x is, so at least 4 means you're looking for 4, 5, 6 and above, like that. So that one you actually write it like this, because x is greater than or equal to 4. This one is x is less than 4. It looks like this. X is greater than 4. And then x is at most 4. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to do this question now. So we've got 8. What have we got? 8 can be written as 2 to the power of 3. So it's going to be 2 to the power of 3 multiplied by 2 to the power of x minus 5. And we're looking for greater than 66. So because the two bases are the same, we're going to add the powers up. And we're going to get 2 to the power of 3 plus 2x minus 5. And it's greater than 66. So at this point, we're going to have 2 to the power of 2x minus 2. And that's greater than 66. Yes, Lewis, there will be some questions like that. Okay, so now this one is slightly different because you've actually got the power is actually 2x minus 2. So what I would say to you guys is, in the sidelines, like when I say in the sidelines, in the side somewhere, just go, just write down your powers. 2 to the power of 1 is 2, 2 squared is 4, and then 2 cubed is 8. I'm just going to write that down. Just keep going until you see the number that you're happy with. All right. So basically at this point, if it's 2 to the power of, like, I'm just going to do this. Just bear with me in a second. So I'm going to put this yellow mark here for the power, right? So if I put this 2 to the power of 6, is that greater than 66? Because what I want to know is what should be the power, all right? At least the minimum of it, the minimum that it can actually work out. So if I look at this, 2 to the power of 6 is actually equal to 64. And is 64 greater than 66? Well, it's not. So I know this is not going to work. And if I look at the next number for 2 to the power of 7, that's going to be 128. So what I can then say is, if I actually do 2 to the power of 7, is that greater than 66? And once again, I'm going to have 7 as the power. So 2 to the power of 7 is 128, and 128 is bigger than 66. So I'm happy with that. And I'm sure if 7 works, then 8's going to work, 9's going to work. So the numbers I'm looking for is 7, 8, 9. I'm talking about the yellow part. The power itself can be 7, 8, 9, and it just keeps literally going up, right? So that means 2x minus 2. Okay, just bear with me on this. This might look a little bit confusing, but trust me, it does. So what I'm saying is that 2x minus 2 can actually be equal to 7 or bigger than 7. So I'm basically saying the power, wrong pen. So what I'm saying is that the power has to be equal to 7 or bigger than 7. Okay? So, and I'm not finished for this question yet, because all I've just discovered is that what the power could be. But in this case, I actually need to figure out what x is. So I've got this extra bit of step that I need to do. So I've got 2x is greater than or equal to 7. This becomes plus 2. So I've got 2x is greater than or equal to 9. And then x has to be greater than or equal to 9 over 2. Right? But here's the thing though. Here's the kicker. 9 over 2 is actually 4.5. Okay? But if you guys actually go back to the question, and this is where the kicker comes in. If you go back to the question, sorry, I'll come back to the answer. Don't worry. Because it actually says when x is a whole number. All right, so that means it actually can't be a decimal. So if we go back, the biggest whole number after 4.5 so the final answer is actually x is greater than or equal to 5. Yep, or the other answer is x is greater than 4, Jamie. Yep, that will work as well. Hey guys, I love that the people are socializing here, but it makes it really hard for me to try and track questions down. So could you just leave the chat for asking questions, please? X is greater than or equal to 5 or 4. Now, yes, one of your answer is x is greater than or equal to 5, or you could have actually said x is greater than 4. All right, let me have a quick look. Next question. That's a rearrange. Jamie, I'll actually do that question later tomorrow morning and I'll post the video. Chinmay. Yep. Chinmay, I'm going to do a video for that one later on as well, man. That's a really cool question. I will definitely create a video for that. Okay, guys. One more question on exponential, or do we want to do an inequality question? So why did you write x is greater than or equal to 5, since x is only greater than 5, not equal to? Yash, wait, why did you write x is greater than 5, greater than or equal to 5, since x is only greater than 5, not equal to? I don't think I get. Wait, the thing is, Yash, see, in here, what we've discovered was x has to be bigger than or equal to 4.5. But the next biggest whole number is actually 5. So x has to take the values of 5 and up, above 5 and up. Yeah, hopefully that helps, man. All right, got a couple of more questions. No. Yeah, sweet. Yes, you got that. Okay, one more question, folks. I'm just gonna go back and just see if I can actually pick up what we've done. We've done this. Have a look at last year's paper and see if I can get a question from that. Guys, if you have any word problem questions, just send a picture to me, or just email it to me on Facebook or whatever, and then I can just do it from there. Because trying to get a word problem just out of randomly, it's a bit cray-cray at the moment, because I'd have to actually type it up and create it. But if it's like a screenshot, I can just grab it and just do it. One more exponential question. Just give me 1 second. I'm just having a look at this. 2018. What was that exponential question that we did? Let's do a nice and simple one before we kind of call it a night. Yeah, let's do this one here, because this one was, oh no, that one's, you guys have already done that. I've already got an answer for that. Okay, one more simple one here. So we've got, what do we got? 8. Last question for the day, guys. We'll try this question here. Yeah, Chinmay, just send them to me, and what I'll do is I'll yeah, I can only do so many because I get a lot of questions, but I'll try and do like 2 questions a day. But yeah, if you send the questions, I'll actually try and do them. Okay, so I'm hoping you guys have had a chance to have a go at this question, because I think this question last year was actually an excellence question as well, but I just want to double check. CAT 2018. Yeah, definitely an excellence question, this one. So again, what do? Change everything to the power of 2, and then you guys should be okay with it. We already got a couple of people with answers there, but let's have a go. So the first thing is actually replacing 8. We're going to replace 8 with 2 to the power of 3, and that's actually multiplied by 2 to the power of x plus 2 is less than 20. Now, some of you might have actually tried and do this in a different way. So you might have actually done this. 2 to the power of x plus 2 is less than 20 divided by 8. All right. Now, yeah, if you doing this method, that's fine as well. But the only difference is that you know, with 20 over 8, you gotta write that as a number and kind of work around it. But I'll show you guys both methods just to see what actually pops up. So in this left-hand side, what we're going to do is we're going to combine the powers. So we're going to get 3 plus x plus 2 is less than 20. So we've got 2 to the power of x plus 5 is less than 20. So once we get this, as always, in our side here, it helps having that 2 to the whatever they are, 2 to the power of whatever the numbers there are. So I'm going to do it up till 2 to the power of 5, which is 32. All right. So I know that the power here can't equal to 5. Okay, because if it equals to 5, then what happens is it becomes 32, and then therefore it's not actually going to work out. So what I'm looking for is that the power has to be 4 and below. So, all right. So in other words, I'm just kind of thinking about it like this. The power has to be less than or equal to 4. So if I look at what my power is actually equal to x plus 5. So I can write this as x plus 5 is less than or equal to 4. So rearranging this, I've got x is less than or equal to 4. Take away 5. So x has to be less than or equal to -1. Yeah, so two answers there. You've got x has to be less than or equal to -1, or x has to be less than 0. So Jamie, you forgot the equal sign. So yes, if you got up to 2 to the power of x plus 5 is less than 20, I think that should easily get you up to at least and achieved, I'd say. Easily. Dr. Silence, I basically got that question from last year's exam paper 3D. All I've done is I've just changed the numbers. I couldn't work out how to type it. The chat does. Zubair, what do you mean by doesn't matter? Oh, no. You can just write one answer, Zubair. So you could actually write x is less than 0 or x less than or equal to -1. Sarah, are you talking about guessing and checking for the last part? Because according to the schedule, you can guess and check for this question, but you gotta have at least one correct algebraic process, which means I think if you get up to this point here, that's at least showing like 2 different algebraic procedures. So therefore, you could actually go from there directly to here to get an E. Legendary, yeah, this was an excellence question, man. Are all the excellence questions word problems? No, Kevon, this question right here is an excellence question. It depends. Chival plays with minor errors. Basically, that means an excellence could get dropped to a merit or something like that. Don't worry, Daniel. I'm gonna start putting some people on timeout very shortly because it's very hard for me to keep up with the questions with all the general chatter going around. How did you get, Jonathan? Are you talking about the previous question? Use the powers of 2 that make 20. You get x plus 5 less than or equal to... Oh, wait. How did you get x plus 5 or equal to 4? Oh, sorry, Jonathan. I just... Yeah. So basically, the 4 I actually got from here. Sorry, I just realized what you were asking. Now, guys, this will be the last question here. So the 4 actually comes from there because, you see, if I have 2 to the power of 5, then the number becomes 32, and 32 is actually not less than 20. So think about it like this. If I put 2 to the power of 5, that's not true because 2 to the power of 5 is 32. So the number before it is 2 to the power of 4, which is less than 20. Yes, that's correct. That means the power here has to be equal to 4 or less. All right, and so that's where I came up with this. Sorry about all the lines all over the place. Okay. Is this the question also that x has to be a whole number? Jasmine, yes, because I know this was an argument that we were having as teachers last time around, because they didn't actually say that it has to be a whole number in the question, because in the question they just said solve for x, which they shouldn't have. They should have actually said it has to be whole numbers. And Nimish, yeah, you're right. It has to be whole numbers for the whole time, or we have to assume that. So sometimes if they don't actually ask that, what you guys can actually state at the bottom is actually just state as something like x is whole number. In this case, it's not a whole number, so we got to put that as x is an integer. All right, guys, that's basically 10 o'clock. What I've got to say here is that's basically it for today's session. If you guys have any questions, I'll hang around for another 5-10 minutes just to answer questions away. I will try and run another tutorial on Tuesday night, but I just the live videos that I do here, they do get uploaded later on, so you guys will find it in my main page of the channel. Yes, just drop it, mate, and then if I get some time, I can do it. Dominic, rearrangement, the thing is, mate, like I try and do most of the questions that does require some sort of rearrangement, but if you have any specific ones, just flick it to me and I will try and do them. I sent you a question to Gmail. Harsh, I'm sorry, man, I don't actually do chance and data. That's just not my domain, unfortunately. I'm not the best person to actually explain it. Is there MCAT for level 2? TAP, no, there's actually level 2 algebra, which comes at the end of year exams. And believe me when I say this, I forgot to mention to folks, guys, I know a lot of people get stressed out about these level 1 exams, but I'm telling you, man, it's like you just got to practice a lot of them. And if you guys need like one of the things I'd say is like just take some breaks, especially with algebra, because it can drive you nuts, it can drive you mental, but just make sure you take lots of breaks, just away from the question, and sometimes it actually helps coming back to the question. I'll talk a little bit more about this next time. Somebody did send me Zayden. Let me have a look at this question. Yep. Zayden, I've actually done a question very similar to this in the prep videos, but I just can't remember which number it is. I know there's like 114 questions in that playlist, but I have done like quite a few questions like that. Jonathan, yep, I'll have a look, mate. I'll have a look for those questions. Tausif Hussein, yes, there is, but you learn it at level 2. Chinmay, no worries, mate. Yeah, as Nimish actually pointed out, that's something that you do later on in level 2. No probs, Nahal. Yeah, there is a playlist that I've actually shared, guys, which has about, I think, 116 questions from the last 3 years that I've just been like lots of different types of questions. Word questions are in there as well, so have a look through them. And Zayden, yes, I do remember doing that question in that playlist, so have a look through that. No worries, Ralph, you're welcome. Really, Tap? The last year's MCAT was a bit tricky. No worries, guys. You're welcome. Twice as hard as width. Tap, don't worry, man. Like, look, if the paper does end up being hard, what they generally tend to do is like they start handing out achieves for random questions. Like that's what they did in I think it was in 2016, where they were giving like merits for just solving a basic quadratic question. So just one of the important things that you can do is just make sure you answer every question to as much detail as possible. No worries, Tosif, you're welcome. I did forget to ask you guys, what is, like, I know I put up my what do you call them? I create an event for the tutorial. So do you guys get like notifications when I actually put an event, or is it only you get a notification when I actually go live? Yes, you're gonna need a calculator for what just happened there. Very quickly, yes, very quickly. Here we go. This is what it looks like. So what do we got? Calculate the radius of the soda can. Okay, so you kind of need two things. First, you need volume of a cylinder, which I hope they've actually given you that equation. So it's going to be pi r squared h. And then what does it say? It's twice as high as its width. So if I put that as radius, then the width of the can is 2 times the radius, and then it's twice as high as its width. So that's going to be 4r. So you got pi times r squared times h equals 355. Pi r squared times 4r is 355. And then expanding it, you got 4 pi r cubed equals 355. R cubed equals 355 over 4 pi. And then r is equal to cube root of that. Sorry, man, I kind of had to rush through it because I know you've been asking that. Oh, you have to click reminder. Ralph, if you do have any questions, just drop it in either the email or the Facebook, and can kind of help you out with it. I get when you go live, right? I understand, Madara. Thank you. Yeah, Ralph, what you got to do is you just got to keep practicing, man. The more you practice, there's only so many types of questions they can ask, but every year they'll have at least one question which we've not seen before. But it's not like every question. They only have like 1 or 2 that it's like different completely. Thanks, Dominic, for that lovely explanation of the name. Lala Dragneel, I've been teaching maths for a long time, and I actually agree with you in that, every word that you've actually said in that comment. Daniel, this question here, if they give you the volume of the cylinder, then yes, this could be an equation, but like I'm just concerned about that it's going to be a cubed, because I know that you guys haven't actually messed around much with it. All right. Okay, that's basically it, guys. So I'll run another tutorial on Tuesday. What else do I have? And if you have any questions, as always, just drop it in the comments. And this OneNote is going to be live, so you can actually check out the description below, and it's got the links to it. Are you going to upload any level 2, level 3 tutorials? Rohan, are you level 2 or level 3, Rohan? Can 2T and 1U get you merit? Yes, stop. Again, it depends on the paper. If you do, Kevin, yes, you do, because you don't have a calculator, remember? So you can actually leave your answer like that. Rohan, I'll be doing some level 3 tutorials much later in the end of year, more closer to the end of the year, because I'm not teaching level 3 this year, so it's just I'm teaching level 1 and 2. Oh, actually, yeah, you're right, Bashir. It is 2T equals 2E. Can 2T and 1M get you E? Oh man, I need to actually go back to the marking schedule to try and remember, because I haven't actually marked the MCAT in a couple of years. Let me just have a look. Answers. Let's see. Okay, basically it says, let me see if I can try and screenshot this. Give me 1 second, I'll put it up here. Okay, let me just see. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just going to post the schedule. Schedule for last year. Ah, damn it. Where did it go? No, clipboard. Oh, where did it go? Here we go. All right, let's see if this actually gets updated. There we go. Okay, hopefully that kind of makes sense, Jonathan. You said 2T and an M get you an E. And I'll 1T. Yeah, so basically 2T gets you a 2E. That's all I have. So remember, that was just for this paper here. So every year the paper changes, and so which means the grades change as well. But my best suggestion is just try and do all the questions that you can. Jonathan, but if you look at the schedule, right, you got to actually get 2E and 2M as one of the categories, or 3E. But again, remember that this is for this paper. Your paper that you did could have a different marking schedule. So this is just from like last year's. So if I showed you like 2017's marking schedule, it's slightly different compared to the 2018 ones. So it all depends on the questions. So that's why I always say to you guys, just answer as many questions as possible and then let the marking schedule kind of figure things out for you. All right, guys, that's basically me. I will catch you guys on Tuesday night, okay? So till then, keep practicing those questions.